Hey guys, it's Ghost Queen back here today with a new video. Um, I'm not going to show myself on this video today. I'm not the focus, but I'm going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to give a big thank you to my good friend Eye of the Star for the shout out. You're a sweetheart. I've been sort of letting myself get distracted the past several days by things that really are beneath me and not worth my time, energy, and focus. And so my friend kindly redirected me. Thank you. I needed that. Love you. So she gave me an idea for a video, and this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a little while. Now, I am a little bit into collecting card decks, not as badly as some people. I have friends out there who have deck collections of 300 decks or more. But I have a few, and my collection seems to grow bigger and bigger as time goes on. However, I realize not everyone has that option. Some people have financial constraints and whatnot. So did I at one point. So I want to talk about today a little bit about how you can still work with tarot and oracle cards, even if you have no money, and that sort of thing. So if money is a concern and you still would like to work with cards, first of all, the first thing you can do is just go out and buy a common playing deck. This is what tarot is based off of. Originally, it was just a traditional playing deck, and it was used as a gaming deck. So if you can't afford to go out and buy a fancy tarot deck, you can just use a traditional deck of cards. Usually you can pick something like that up at Walmart pretty cheap, just a few bucks, less than $10 certainly. So, that's the first thing you can use. You can also, like my friend Carrie did, use any deck of cards, even if it isn't a traditional tarot or oracle deck card. You can use any deck of cards for divination. It doesn't have to be a mass-produced deck. She was using this gorgeous flower deck as her deck for her own intuition and divination. And you can certainly do that. You can make your own deck. In fact, I've seen some awesome coloring books now that are actually tarot cards that are just blank white cards, and you color the deck yourself, which is fun and creative and artistic. And then you can use that as your own personal deck. And in fact, they do often instruct people who are learning tarot to make their own deck. So you could draw your own deck. And if you have artistic ability, I certainly suggest you do that. I would wish I could. I'm not that artistically talented. I'm not good at drawing. I love to paint though. Everybody has their own thing that they're good at. So, and I want to talk about a couple of other things. First of all, there is this app that I used to use. You can find it on the Google Play Store. I'm assuming you can find it on iTunes as well. It's called the Tarot Sampler, and I believe it's produced by a company called Fool's Dog. This is a fantastic app. They have access to a large number of decks that are in existence, that they have, uploaded the cards. And it's a good way to preview a lot of different decks and see what some of the cards look like. And this is an app you can get for free. You can use daily, and you can use different decks. And as I say, this is an option that costs you absolutely nothing. As long as you have a smartphone, you can access this app and do daily readings with different decks with this app. It's a really great app. I used to use it before I had a lot of card decks, and I highly suggest it. So you can just search on Google Play or iTunes for the Tarot Sampler by Fool's Dog. Now, there is also a great website that I've been meaning to talk about for a while. It boasts a complete list of tarot and oracle decks. It is not a complete list because I've already searched for one deck that I'm interested in that isn't on the list. But I think a complete list would be hard to do in this day and age because there are so many tarot and oracle decks out there, new ones coming up all the time. You've got decks on Etsy and people make their own decks. And then there's, some that are hard to find and whatnot. There's so many decks in existence. I think that would be a big chore, but this website does have probably the biggest list that I've seen. There are some other sites that have a good list of decks, but this is a pretty good one. I'm going to put a link in the description, but if you want to go and search yourself, it is called eclectic.net. They're sort of using their own creative spelling for eclectic, but they have a really good list of tarot and oracle decks for you to look at and preview. And that's a good way to decide on one particular deck for yourself if you're looking to get a deck for the first time. I've talked about in the past, usually people, start off with, Rider-Waite or the Thoth deck or, what's the other big one? I think it's the Marseille deck. Do what feels good to you. Also, I still have people ask me if you have to be gifted a tarot deck. No, that's a myth. It's an old sort of wives' tale myth. You can buy your own decks for yourself. You don't have to wait to be gifted one. So yeah, that I will put a link in the description to that website. It's a good place to check out a lot of different decks. And these days, as I say, you can find a tarot or oracle deck in almost any theme you can imagine. If you can think of a theme and they haven't made a deck for it, then I suggest you go ahead and make that deck and you'll probably make some money. So the last thing I'm going to talk about here today is personal methods of divination, using cards. Now, in the past, I had spoken about how I used to not want to neglect any of my decks. It's just a weird obsessional thing that I've got going on. So I used to choose one card from each deck that I had when I did my personal daily divination with cards. However, this got to be more and more difficult for me as my deck collection grew. It was just getting a little out of hand and a little crazy, as obsessions sometimes can. So what I did was I started changing up my method. So now what I do is on one particular day, I'll just use my favorite decks at the time from my oracle deck collection. And then on another day, I'll use my favorite decks at the time from my tarot collection. Now, right now, my most favorite oracle decks that I'm using are the Damon Tarot, which is actually an oracle deck, the Halloween Oracle, and Earth Magic. These are my favorite oracle cards at the moment. Sometimes that changes. And right now, my favorite tarot decks are the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot, Bonefire Tarot, and Chrysalis. I've just decided to stick with 3 favorites from each group. That way I keep it a little bit under control. I've spoken about my own personal method in the past. I just shuffle until a card literally pops out of the deck. And for me, that is what happens. I will always have one card just pop itself out of the deck. So I've set up a little example here today with my tarot cards. These are the 3 cards that popped out of the deck today for my own personal reading. So that's how I do it. I definitely suggest that you find a method that works for you. Don't feel constrained to particular rules. Do what feels right for you. And that's the best way to work when it comes to divination, is to trust yourself, have some self-confidence, and do whatever feels right for you. So yeah, you can see how cool these decks are. Beautiful artwork. I love that. As I say, these are my 3 most favorite tarot decks at the moment. Sometimes that changes. Sometimes I have different needs for the moment and whatnot. But right now I'm using those 3 decks. So yeah, divination with cards is a great way to get a little bit of daily guidance. I love cards, always will, always looking to expand upon my deck collection. But I am choosy. I'm not drawn to every deck, and I only purchase decks that I'm drawn to. And sometimes I have there's been a couple of decks I've bought over the years or I've been given that I haven't resonated with. And usually they just kind of fall by the wayside. Sometimes I end up giving them to other people or I just don't use them. I've got a few decks like that. But on the whole, I pretty much try to research a deck before I buy it so that I know I'm going to like it and use it. So that's a little information today about decks. Hope it helps. I have a new bell here that I don't think well, it's not brand new, but I've had it for about, I don't know, 6 months maybe. And I've been meaning to talk about this. This is something I keep on my personal altar. And I am going to be doing a video soon about the use of bells in practice. It's an interesting subject, and I do use the bell myself, and I want to talk about how I use that. So that will hopefully be my next video. I may be doing a session tonight on Ghost Queen Paranormal. Not going to promise, not positive, but it's a possibility, so keep your eyes open. And hope everyone is having a great weekend. I did a lot of yard work, excuse me, the past couple days because my weather app predicted 4 days of rain. Clearly they were wrong because that was supposed to start today. And it is an absolutely beautiful day outside here at Seven Oaks. So the weatherman isn't always right, but I think we already know that. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Enjoy this lovely weather if you're in the south like me. If you're in the north, I hope it is starting to warm up there. And if you're in other parts of the country, just have a great weekend. Love you guys. Again, Carrie, thanks for the shout out. Love you, girl. And everyone else, I will see you soon. I bid you adieu.